It's swing, sing and all that jazz. And here to give you the downbeat is Henry Holloway.
Thank you again, Marilyn, and hello again to you, dear listeners. Whether you're in where our transmitter is, or in America, where I know that quite a number of folks are tuned in to our station on the internet. First up on our musical menu today, the remarkable National Youth Jazz Orchestra of Germany, directed by Peter Herbolzheimer. This band contains only youngsters under 23 years of age, selected and fine-tuned by Mr. Herbolzheimer, who is rated in the top strata of all-time German big band maestros. In 1993, Peter took his protégés on a tour of the Baltic states and Russia, and on the 30th of September 1993, in the Great Hall of the Philharmonie in Riga, Latvia, one of the items air-checked was Jerome Richardson's Groove Merchant. Warm applause from the Latvian audience for Groove Merchant, arranged by Thad Jones, and for the marvelous National Youth Jazz Orchestra of Germany, directed by Peter Herbolzheimer. September 30th, 1993. Now, as we do most of the time after swing, we move to sing, and they don't come much better than the chairman of the board, old Blue Eyes himself. One of Mr. Sinatra's most famous engagements ever was his 1966 sellout season at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas. Thanks to my good friend Tony Eaton of High Wycombe in England, I can tell you that 3 of Frank's concerts at the Sands were recorded during April of 1966, and the best takes culminated in a long-play record issued in September 1966. Years later it reappeared in CD format, and here's one of the items which I enjoy listening to. Frank Sinatra is accompanied here only by his pianist Bill Miller.
This is the part in the program where we sing a drunk song. Drunk songs are usually done in small bars and bistros in the wee hours of the morning. Usually talked or sung by a fellow who's got problems, like his broad flew to coop with another guy and all the bread. So if you will assume the position of a bartender, it's the way these guys behave. It's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. Set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story I think you should know. We're drinking, my friend, to the end of a brief episode. Make it one for my baby and another one for the road. I know the routine. Put another quarter in the machine. I feel kind of bad. Can't you make the music easy and sad? I could tell you a lot, but it's not in a gentleman's code. Just make it one for my baby and one more for the road. You'd never know it, but buddy, I'm a kind of poet, and I got a lot of things I'd like to say. And if I'm gloomy, please listen to me till it's tucked away. Well, that's how it goes. And Joe, I know you're getting anxious to close. Anyway, thanks for the cheer. I hope you didn't mind my band in your ear. But this torch that I found, it's gotta be drowned, or it's gonna explode. Make it one for my baby and another for the road. The lawn is damn long. It's so long.
Applause for Frank Sinatra and Bill Miller, and for that wonderful saloon song, One for My Baby, written by Harold Arlen and Johnny Mercer. Sinatra at the Sands, 1966. Here's an oddity for our small group slot. George Shearing playing accordion. And to make it even more interesting, George was only 19 years old when this recording was made in London on the 2nd of March 1939. The tune is titled Squeezin' the Blues, and it was composed by young Shearing and the then 24-year-old Leonard Feather, who played piano on that date. Feather, of course, later became a world-famous jazz critic and writer. Not earth-shattering, but most interesting. George Shearing, blind from birth, of course, at the age of 19, playing accordion. He certainly progressed quite nicely from there on, didn't he? During my last program, I did not mention the birthday of Antti Sarpila, Finland's leading reed man, composer, arranger, and bandleader, on June 11th. I had a lovely telephone chat with Antti earlier this week and promised him to make amends. So here is the Auntie Sarpila Quintet in 1987 playing Fats Waller's Steel and Apples. Auntie plays clarinet on this air check, and the other main soloist is pianist Ulf Johansson. the Auntie Sarpila Quintet with a most exciting version of Steel and Apples. Auntie plays all the reed instruments brilliantly. I so enjoyed listening to Auntie and some fellow Scandinavian jazzmen in Finland in 2001. Time for another vocal, and it's one of my special favorites on parade, Carol Sloane. And I mean the young Carol Sloane. In 1961 she was a sensation at the Newport Jazz Festival, and in 1962 she made her debut album for Columbia Records. From it, 2 numbers to illustrate why, at that time, I put her second only to Ella, globally.
Every time you're near a rose, aren't you glad you've got a nose? And if the dawn is fresh with dew, aren't you glad you're you? When a meadow lark appears, aren't you glad you've got 2 ears? And if your heart is singing too, aren't you glad you're you? You can see a summer sky, or touch a friendly hand, or taste an apple pie. Pardon my grammar, but ain't life grand? And when you wake up each morn, aren't you glad that you were born? Think what you've got the whole day through. Aren't you glad you're you? And when you wake up each morn, aren't you glad that you were born? Think what you've got the whole day through. Aren't you glad? Aren't you glad? Aren't you glad you're you? Like I'd reach for a star, worshiping you from afar, living with my silent love. Flame dying out in the rain, only the ashes remain, smoldering like my silent love. Things I have planned, still it's wrong to tell. You would not understand. You'll go along, never dreaming I care, loving somebody somewhere, leaving me my silent love. loving somebody somewhere, leaving me my silent love.
Aren't You Glad You're You, composed by Jimmy Van Heusen and Johnny Burke, followed by My Silent Love from the pens of Dana Swisse and Eddie Heyman, both sung superbly by a 20-something-year-old Carol Sloane in 1962. George T. Simon, arguably the world's foremost authority on these music sounds, confirmed in writings and to me personally that only Ella was a better female singer than the young Carol Sloane. Carol must be nearing 70 now, but she still sings very well. We started the program with a German big band. Now here's another, the SDSWR big band, courtesy of the Südwestrundfunk at Baden-Baden. Don't be fooled by the opening minute or so. I can tell you that Eddie Durham wrote the original arrangement about 70 years ago, but these Germans have certainly zapped it up. Motown Swing, composed by Benny and Buster Motown in 1933 and played there by the SWR Big Band quite recently. I wish CD producers would date recordings. Now, 2 days ago, Kath Lawrence would have organized a birthday party for husband Sid, but the dear man passed away some years ago. Sid Lawrence was definitely in the top 3 of post-war British band leaders. To give you an idea, here's the Sid Lawrence Orchestra playing Neil Hefti's Splanky, with pianist Brian Pendleton leading the way. Sid Lawrence and his big band with Splanky, composed and arranged by my friend Neil Hefti. I'm guessing that recording was made in 1983. And now it's local content time, beginning with Eve Boswell, Butch Kilpatrick and Boris Cohen singing Love Somebody with Roy Martin and his orchestra, recorded round about 1948 on a 78 RPM shellac record.
I love somebody, but I won't say who. Handsome say he's 6 feet tall, and his picture's on my wall. Love to be his baby doll. If he kissed me, I wouldn't mind at all.
I love somebody,
And so do I.
yes, I love somebody,
And so do I.
I love somebody.
And me too. We love somebody, but we won't say who. Don't know why she acts so shy. She ought to know I wouldn't dream of even hurting a fly. Hope she doesn't pass me by, 'cause if she did, I'd die. I know I'd die. I love somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, yes I do. I love somebody, but I won't say who.
Oh, I love somebody.
Won't you tell us who it is?
It's true, I love somebody.
Yes you do, yes you do.
I love somebody.
And we know that it's true that she loves somebody, but she won't say who.
Well, he's 6 feet tall.
I'm at your beck and call.
His voice makes me swoon.
Must be the way I grew.
He's the singer in the band.
That could be either of us.
I love that man. I wanna marry him. I love somebody.
Guess who? Guess who?
Oh yes, I love somebody.
We do, oh, we love somebody. And that somebody is you.
My goodness, 60 years ago, and that old record still keeps on spinning. Love Somebody, Roy Martin, Eve Boswell and Friends in 1948. Here's a nice small group sound, that of the Benny Robenheimer Quintet. In the late 60s, Benny, accordion, Henny van Lochenberg, vibraphone, and Chris de Tooy, guitar, made up the front line on a Tommy Rearing composition, Die Waarpad, The Wagon Road. Not high fidelity, but most pleasant. the Benny Robenheimer Quintet prancing along that old wagon road in most delightful fashion. Wouter Loots is a singer whenever he is not occupied as an engineer, and he often sings with Bram Potgieter, who plays a number of instruments, primarily piano and trumpet. Bram also provides the arrangements and backings for artists, as he does on this Wouter Loots recording.
It had to be you. It had to be you. I wander around, finally found somebody who could make me be true, but make me feel good. And he would be glad just to be sad, thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be mean, might never be cross, or try to be boss, but they would not do. For nobody else give me a thrill. With all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. Try to be boss, but they would not do. For nobody else gave me a thrill. With all your faults and love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you.
Wouter Loots singing It Had to Be You just a few years ago when he was already in his 50s. It's rather amazing when you consider the fact that Isham Jones and Gus Kahn wrote that song in America in 1924 and hear it sung by a man in the 21st century whose first language is Afrikaans. Good for you, Wouter. Here now is an even older composition, Second Hand Rose, written in 1921. My goodness, where has music gone? Let's listen to pianist Cliff Jones. Second-Hand Rose, originally made famous by Fanny Bryce on stage and screen. Cliff Jones, who recorded it in 1972, won the SARI Award as South Africa's Best Instrumentalist in the same year. We couple our final piece of music with a rather sad anniversary. On the 27th of June 2003, one of this country's best-known big band maestros, Art Heatley, died. Let's listen to Art Heatley and his band taking their musical bow to that certain Mrs. Robinson. And so we close another middle-of-the-road vintage music program. I do hope that you've enjoyed some of it, at least. I'll be back, God willing. Till then, all the best to you and yours. Goodbye.
Swing, Sing and All That Jazz was compiled and presented by Henry Holloway.
Henry Holloway's autobiography, titled Swing, Sing and All That Jazz, is due to be published in America by Trafford Publishers and will be available on Amazon.com and at Barnes & Noble bookstores. It tells the story of a unique South African who rose from humble beginnings to become one of only 2 non-Americans in history who has been honoured with America's prestigious Golden Bandstand Award, joining Frank Sinatra, Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, and 50 other American music legends. This 700-page book tells Henry Holloway's remarkable story and contains more than 500 images of photographs, articles, and letters. Contact Trafford Publishers in Bloomington, Indiana.